Hello everybody, welcome back to Spruverse, my scale model universe, people of Earth. Welcome to a brand new show, something special for you today. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. I had a visit from the Interstellar Modeler himself, Oggie Gonzales, and if you don't know who the Interstellar Modeler is, you need to. There is a link to his channel in the description below. Please go check him out. Beyond being an awesome human being, he's a super talented modeler and artist. And the reason why I cajoled him and begged him to come to the studio today is because I have, for the longest time, wanted to get into figure painting and learn a lot more about it. And one of the things you do is practice. Yeah, practice, practice, practice. But the most important thing is have a process that you can follow. He told me to check out is a gentleman by the name of Joe Hudson, who has given him a tremendous amount of information and has shared with him some of his basic techniques. Apparently Joe has done a couple of clinics at Wonderfest. I've missed those. But Joe also has a book out on figure painting, so I'm definitely going to check that out. I'll give you as much information on Joe as I can possibly get. But in the meantime, please enjoy this episode on Figure Painting 101. And we've picked a great subject. Well, I say Oggie was kind enough to bring me a Ben Affleck as Batman Bruce Wayne bust for us to work on. And so what I'm going to do now, without further ado, is run this episode for you. I hope you get as much out of it as I did, and I'll be back at the end just to wrap it up and give you some beauty shots of what he was able to accomplish in just a few short hours he had here with us at the studio. So I hope you enjoy. Okay, so here we are with my friend Oggie Gonzales for Interstellar Modeler.
Hey guys.
If you've never met Oggie on his channel, I'll put a link in the description below. You need to go check him out. He is an awesome modeler and he's very talented. And he's been kind enough to sit here and explain to me some of the mysteries of painting. And I think for a lot of us out there, one of the things that we're challenged with is how to build up color and just basics. So you've been kind enough to say, yes, I'll explain to you.
Yeah, at least what I know.
Well, listen, what you know is more than I'll ever know.
So the technique I'm going to show you here is one I learned at Wonderfest, and there are many different techniques that you can apply or at least use when it comes to painting busts and these types of things. It depends on how much detail you want to add in. And what this helps accomplish is that variability in skin tone, right? Because the problem with a lot of time, if you just apply these skin colors, it's going to look pretty flat. Right?
Okay.
It's going to look like a mannequin, right? And
that's
really
that's
what
my
you want
struggle.
to try to move away from, right? And so it was an interesting technique I learned in which we're going to apply different colors to the face first, as we layer on the base tones of our skin colors. And then what you'll notice is when everything is done, and I'm not sure how well this is going to show up on camera, but you should be able to see it here. You'll see that variability in color. And
well, we'll definitely try.
Yeah.
So do you mind if I ask questions along the way?
No,
because
ahead,
I've got a million of them and we won't get to everything. But one of the things that I struggle with is trying to understand the natural shadows that appear on a face.
Right.
And how much of that we can leave to the natural shadows you'll see in light, the way we see here. So you can see this natural shadow,
right?
But then there's the shadowing around the various facial structures and bone.
Right.
How much of that do you have to pay attention to?
Well, having had so I have a medical background, so I did take a lot of anatomy. So maybe that's something I just take for granted. Right? I look at eyes all day long, and so you kind of know what eyes actually look like.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do have to keep that in mind. I do think really a lot of it still is, to me, is what I go by are the light shadows first.
Okay.
And then secondarily, I do know there's going to be more reds around the edges of the eyes. You know that there's more reds around the cheek areas and around the nose, right? So it's good to really look at reference pictures, just pictures of people in general, and kind of see how those tones really look, you know, on average, I guess, right? So you keep that in mind as you are trying to choose what the colors you're using to apply. You know.
And then as you build up the color, because obviously our skins are very different.
That's right.
And as we get older, like me, it turns into a Rorschach's test. But how much of that can we actually recreate at this scale?
You know, it's surprising how much you could recreate. There are some people who are so expert at doing even the smallest scale figures, and it's incredible how much they get out of it.
Yeah.
But I would say you'd be able to get some of that. You know, I think the larger you go, obviously you're going to see more of that type of detail. Like when you go to Wonderfest, you'll see these almost one-to-one bust, right? I mean, obviously that's going to be, but at this scale, I think you could get a fairly reasonable amount of that. You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So. Okay, so what we're going to start off with, and as we first start off, this is a technique by Randy Van Dyke, so I'm not going to take credit for it. He's a guy you can find. He does go to Wonderfest pretty much every year, and if you can take a look at the panels, you know, he does offer this type of class periodically there.
Okay.
So that's where this is coming from. So we're starting off with a bust of Ben Affleck as Batman, as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And a lot of good detail here, as you can see. Pretty good likeness.
Yes,
too, right?
Amazing likeness. And even I was noticing the 5 o'clock shadow. And the skin texture in person. Is extraordinary. So that's got to help.
Yeah. So we're starting off with a white. It's been primed with white primer now. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to apply. We don't have burnt sienna, that actual color, but we do have a reddish brown we'll use in place of that.
Okay.
And basically, we're going to start off with applying that all around areas that are usually more heavily shadowed.
Okay.
So we're going to start off with applying around the eyes and creases around the mouth and certainly the base of the neck and chin and all of that.
And in terms of so this is your pre-shading.
This pre-shading, exactly.
So, and then we're going to build on top of that.
That's right. So after the pre-shading's done, then we're going to take a very thin application of a light skin tone.
Okay.
And so that way we don't want to completely cover the pre-shading, but we do want to kind of tone it down.
Okay.
And then on top of that, we're going to apply some rose-colored tints as well as a light brown tint in a mottled sort of fashion. And it's going to look a little weird.
No.
But then over that, we're going to apply yet more of, we're going to build up on our base, on our flesh tones, I should say.
Okay.
And yeah, and we'll see how it all turns out.
Quick question, because I wanted to ask. So one of the mistakes that I constantly make is I over-exaggerate sometimes how far I go down on the cheekbone.
Right.
Like I'm not clear on when to stop. Now, does that depend on the expression you're trying to get, or is it?
For me, a lot of that depends on anatomy and that person's anatomy.
Yeah.
And how light actually, comes off of him.
Okay, exactly. So where your light is coming from.
Use that as your guide. So here, Ben Affleck then has some higher cheekbones here, and you can see how it kind of dips down a little bit more as it gets towards the base of his cheek here. Yeah. That's what we're going to use as our guide.
Okay, got it. And then you would blend out from there. So your lighter skin, your opal.
The lightest skin now once we get to applying once we do that modeling, we're going to apply another color over that, right?
Yeah.
And then that's where we're going to get to our highlights.
Okay.
Right? And that's really what, honestly, once you start getting the highlights, that's really what starts to bring out some of this detail that you're talking about.
Okay, well, enough of my rambling.
It's okay.
All right. Let's dive in.
Okay. So first we're going to start off with typically use burnt sienna, but we're going to use this dark flesh here.
Oh, it's leaking on the top.
Oh my gosh.
That's okay. No, that's why we have a towel.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're going to just thin this a little bit here. I'm going to put a couple drops of paint here.
Okay.
Oops. And then we'll just use about 4 to 6 drops of our reducer.
Okay. And I've got toothpicks over there if you want to stir, or you want to, however you do,
And this has a little bit of a...
Yeah, that one is a challenge because it's my micro. Do you want to stir it up a little more?
Yeah, let me go ahead and stir it up a little more.
There's a toothpick to your right there.
Right here. There you go. Okay.
Sorry, I know when it's not your desk, you don't know where anything is.
Okay. Make this just a little bit thicker here now.
Okay. Now that's one of the things that you learn. For a lot of you'll know this, but it's something I had to learn, which is when you're airbrushing, very light coats, light even coats, and let your coats build. Give them a chance to dry and build.
So we're going to go ahead and start along the eyes here first.
Okay.
And I'm going to go on the side of the nose. And just along the creases here.
I see. So really, all the places where you've got sort of the heavier shadow.
Heavier shadows, exactly. Inside there too. More about the base of the hairline here.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I always struggle with those creases, Oggie, in the forehead.
Yes.
And the creases that come out of the top of the nose.
Mm-hmm.
I struggle with those.
And we just kind of build on what we're doing here. We're just going to make it darker and darker. And that's the one thing I learned too, is like you were saying, you know, very light coats, right? You
yeah,
let that dry,
build it up.
And then you come back to it.
Well, you know, the airbrush itself was something that challenged me at first. You know, how thin.
Mm-hmm.
And when you understand the concept, it's an amazing tool.
Yes.
But when you're first starting out, like I was, it's kind of sad. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, you get too much paint on this, and it's too dark on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow, he even just with the basics, he's coming to life.
I know this is a pretty small sculpt, so I'm just going to kind of try to go over some of these forehead lines.
Yeah, because as you add the lighter coat, they'll stay in the creases, and you'll get that wonderful effect.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great color. That really is.
Yeah, it's actually working out pretty well.
And I'm embarrassed to say, I wouldn't have thought of starting that dark.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, you don't realize that, and this is something why I'm so grateful for you to come up and help and show, is, you know, your colors matter and you build them up, but you start with your darkest here and then you go to your lightest. And I can see how you're hitting all those creases, lighter in some places, harder in others. Already, you know, but I have to say, this is a wonderful piece to demonstrate on. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Because it's so expressive and it's got wonderful detail, so it's really helpful.
Yes. As
opposed to, you know, me with my cartoon characters and really struggling, which is a whole nother discipline, obviously.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're just about done. I can't put too much on that one there. Okay. Okay, so you can see that's it's really darkened up all of these heavier where the shadows are.
Put him over here before, and we'll just bring him into the square there.
Right here.
There you go.
There we go.
Turn him around.
So typically the color I'd use would be a little bit more of a golden brown, but we'll go ahead and see how this works out here.
Okay, excellent.
All right.
All right, so we're going to
switch colors.
We're going to switch colors, so we'll do that for you. It's immediate. For us, it's about 45 minutes.
All right. So the next step now is we're going to spray a light mist of this color we're using here. It's just a light flesh tone.
Okay.
Okay, so we want to conceal a lot of it, but obviously we want a lot of it to shine through as well. So.
And we're going to sort of miraculously watch this start to really show those expressive shadow lines.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if this is coming out thick enough now. Okay.
Yeah, this brush is their micro version, so it's their high-end brush, which is good news.
Do you have a hair dryer?
Yes.
Okay.
Would you like to dry it?
Yeah, let's go ahead and dry that real quick.
Okay, no problem. You know, I don't know how much my local dive shop would appreciate me showing up every...
Actually, this compressor I got works really well, and, you know...
It's great to know. And how much time do you have on it? A long time before it...
You have quite a bit, yeah. I mean, it's how much you're airbrushing.
Yeah. The way the light hits it now...
Right.
Wow!
Right?
Great expression,
So we're going to change colors again.
We're changing colors, okay.
Right, so the next step is where we start to model the face. Right?
Okay.
So we're going to go and basically make squiggly marks all over his face now.
Oh.
Okay, so, and we're going to concentrate more of them, particularly around the cheeks and these higher areas here.
Okay.
But we're just going to start.
And what you're attempting to do is simulate the kind of the mottling effect of our own natural skin.
Right, blood vessels, you know, just variation in the reds and pinks and.
Yeah. Very clever.
Oops, a little too much there.
And again, it's all about building up the colors and getting a nice overall kind of tone. So each time you do a step like this, Oggie, you then are pushing it back with the next layer.
That's right. Exactly.
And that allows you to control the amount of pigmentation and skin.
Right.
It really is. It really is a process, isn't it? I mean, this really is not something you're doing in half an hour.
No.
You have to be committed to wanting to do this, but boy, is it worth it! It really is.
Okay, so over this now, we're gonna change colors again here in just a second.
Okay.
And we're gonna go more to a brownish tone.
Okay.
And apply it along with this color, you know.
Yeah, and that's gonna push all that back.
Okay, so we're going to go and apply a brown color in the same fashion now.
Okay.
Okay. This is a transparent brown that we're using.
So this is to continue the sort of the face modeling.
That's right. Yep, face modeling.
Yeah. I think it's a very smart idea. You sort of practicing these, kind enough to bring me these busts. It's a really good idea to do this several times, obviously, before you start working on something that you really like. I'm excited to. I am going to make an. I'm gonna play with the bust that you kindly gave me, and then I am going to tackle my Jacques Clouseau, Inspector Clouseau bust, because it's got nice texture on it as well.
That's right. Yeah. Go back to applying some of the purple color again.
Okay. And is that just, do you want to deepen some of the shadows, or?
Yeah, I think I went a little too much with the browns there, so I just want to bring some of that back.
Okay, but that's the wonderful thing about paint. You can do that.
Yes.
So I always try to remind my subscribers, is don't, some of them who are, just sort of starting out or just worried, oh, I made a mistake. And no, you didn't. It's paint.
It's paint. That's right.
Start again. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is you don't have to fret over it. Start again.
So this is a mix of beige red.
Okay.
And we've got mahogany brown.
Okay.
And a little bit of this pale flesh. I'd say it's probably about a 70-30 mix of this.
Okay.
And maybe just a small percentage of this, just to lighten it up
a little bit. Okay. And this becomes your blending coat.
Yeah, this is gonna be, actually I would call this basically our base color, really.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay. So really, you would consider everything we've done today to be all the pre-shading.
That's right.
Got it.
Yep. Okay, we're just gonna go very light here to start with now.
Okay. Oh, wow. Holy moly. That is really something. The way it's pulling it together is extraordinary.
You kind of already tell where we're going.
Yeah. With this now, right? Oh my. All right. Well, unfortunately, you made that look way too easy, and I know that is not easy. I'll sit here while you're gone, like going, okay, I need to call him. Wow. That's quite a transformation. Wow. And how long did it take you to sort of, now, you I suppose it depends on how old your face is, depending on how much you bring it back, or...
And also, kind of you need to look at the subject and color skin tone they actually do have.
Right.
Because it's going to vary from one person to the next.
Right, because here's, we can show everybody, here's how, here he is. that's not terribly helpful, but...
Of it. We're just going to add more of this paler color to create the highlights that we're going to use now.
So there's a lot of flesh tones on the market in various different paint from various different paint companies, but you've mixed everything so far.
Yeah.
You've gone to mixing your own, and that's the artist in you, obviously, but also because you feel like you have more control over the color.
More of the color, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's really just what it comes down to, is you just have to kind of experiment, and some flesh tones look better than others.
Yeah.
And I'm still in the process of
learning,
exactly.
I say that to all the time. I come to the bench every day wanting to learn something. I don't feel like I'm skilled in any one thing. Like, it is always something to learn about.
Always something to learn, exactly.
And I can't tell you how many times I pester Lou, how do you do this? How do you do that? Sometimes you just say, figure it out.
Yeah.
No, the community, the thing about this community is they are wonderful.
They really are.
And I'm so grateful to now be a part of it, because the camaraderie, the friendship, and people will go out of their way. They'll share techniques. They'll
totally.
It's wonderful.
Okay, so now we've got to hit the highlights, and so again, just taking our cue from the way the lights are shining on them, and where the high points are. We're going to obviously go to the easiest ones, of course, were his nose, the ridge of his nose, right?
Yeah.
So
I see you hitting the cheekbones. And his cleft. And again, you know, this sculpt is wonderful, so you are helped with the anatomy, but it's the anatomy, one of my mistakes, Oggie, is I tend to over-exaggerate everything on the bones, and then I don't pull it back enough.
Right. And if that happens, you just go back to your base color and just kind of blend it back again.
Blend it back.
Start over.
Right.
You have to.
Wow, look at that. Now, is there another lighter on top of this lighter?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to be going between this color and the one I was using before to kind of, if I over-exaggerate things, I'm going to, in fact, once we're done with this part of it, we're going to go to one more shade and kind of mist it all over.
Okay.
And then we're going to spray on some darker browns. It'll create some of the freckles and things of that sort.
Okay,
as well.
okay, got it.
Exactly.
All right.
I'm going to switch back to the other airbrush.
Okay. Extraordinary. I don't know. Hopefully, we can appreciate it on film, but in the studio here, looking
so you can start
looking
to
at
see
him. Oh, it's
right?
magnificent.
Yeah.
Where is my? Here we go.
I'm going to switch back to the other airbrush again.
Which is, you know, sort of the mottled effect of the skin. Now, in real time, because obviously this will be edited, but in real time, what would you say? Well, we've been at it a few hours now, like 3 hours. I mean, this poor man. I've taken this whole man's day.
That's all right.
And but this is why I wanted to do this, and I'm so grateful for Oggie to be willing to do this, is because this is something I really desperately want to learn this year and get better at. I've got so many wonderful sculpts I want to do on the channel. And now I'm going to start to feel a little more confident that I can at least try, because you got to try. You got to make that leap of faith. But this is really helpful. It's really helpful, okay. And it's not overly complicated in terms of what you have to do. What is complicated is, first of all, your touch with the brush. He's got a very light touch with the brush. He also knows how to move the brush closer and further away to get the effect that he wants, and of course the way he mixes his colors. Those are all the things that you're not gonna pick up right away, but over time you will. Well, I know what you're gonna do.
Yeah. Now, if it was bigger, you could use your airbrush for this step too, but.
You're going to flick.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Oh, a little too much there.
Now he has a freckle.
He has a freckle there, but you can see what we're kind of going for.
Yeah.
And at least blend it in.
Yeah.
So that you don't see them. Oh, we're running out of paint here. Hang on. Okay. Just need a couple of drops.
One of the glorious things about airbrushes is how quickly your paint dries in the brush. And sometimes, you know, when I'm getting ready to paint, I end up literally spending another hour and a half cleaning my brushes.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so this color I concentrate on the bottom lip with. I don't apply it to the top one.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's still in shadow.
Yeah, and we don't want it to look like lipstick.
No.
Yeah, but the top lip, yes, is in shadow. Exactly.
Interesting.
Let's see how it takes kind of a pinkish hue without making it look too...
So you'll have to take your hand away for us to see that. There you go. Sorry, I'm chasing you around the cameras.
That's okay.
There's nothing worse than telling you to put yourself in some circus position. It's like, no, I'm trying to paint.
Right. So you can see how much more subtle that is, right?
Oh my gosh.
Kind of like he would look like there. You don't have this like pink.
No,
pink
it's very natural looking.
And you can even take the mahogany brown if you want to, which I have right here.
Yeah.
And you can actually put that on the upper lip actually and accentuate the shadow from up there.
Okay.
So
I would never even thought of that. I would have gone straight to the reds. And that's the creases of his mouth. Interesting. Right, wow.
So see.
Yes. So now what you have managed to do, which is fascinating, is you've managed to actually create that separation between the lips. With the paint process. Extraordinary. Like literally, I'm trying to explain what I mean is obviously, you know, we would just paint the top lip and a bottom lip, but what you've managed to do is actually create that illusion of separation, and it really adds a depth to the mouth. That is extraordinary.
Yeah, it's a great trick. And it looks a lot more natural, right? And they don't look like they're wearing lipstick.
No, that's exactly right.
There you go.
Look at that.
And then you can even fill in. Well, this one has pretty deep nostrils.
Yeah.
But if you have some that are shallow, this is a great color to act as the shadow within that nostril.
Okay, got it.
You wouldn't use black or anything that dark.
No.
Yeah. So to proceed on, what I would end up doing is
quick question. Sorry to interrupt. The lip, that indent in the lip.
On the upper lip?
Yeah, on the upper lip. I don't know why I'm compelled to try to get that darker. Is that right? Is that wrong?
That's actually right. We would want that a little darker, but what I would end up doing as I proceed further with this is I'm going to take my base color and start darkening it up a little bit further.
Okay, but it's subtle
those
change.
Types of, exactly.
Yeah. See, again, subtle's not my middle name, and I'm learning that.
And that's the same thing we're going to do with the upper lids here as well. We're going to add just a little bit more shadowing to that with darkening up the base color. And so eyes have a certain, we have the lash line, right, along the margin of your lid there.
Yeah.
We can accentuate that with either brown. I just rarely use black.
No.
Yeah. And then the eyes too, we're not going to use white for the sclera, which is the white part of your eye. We're actually going to, there's a couple ways you can do that. You can either go with a gray-white mix.
Okay.
What I like to do is I like to go with kind of a gray-white, but maybe even add in some of this. This is a really nice color, this one here that you found.
Yeah,
the scarlet. And add that in to give it a little bit more warmth.
Got it.
Right. So
into your flesh tones.
Into the flesh tones.
Got it.
Even with the white of the eye, you can start with your flesh tone too. You don't even go to a white. You can just really brighten it up or make it much, much lighter. Add in a little bit of pink, and it'll give it a nice good shade so that they just don't shine out at you.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, but what the effect you did with the mouth to create that separation, there's layers under the bag, not the bags, the eyes, but the lower eyelid, and as that skin drops down, I'm seeing it in the print, but that is another place where you need that separation.
Yes, and some of this too, again, can be. That's why we do all that pre-shading at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Right. And you kind of experiment a little bit with it too, because you might want to maybe the next time you do this, see what happens when you make that shading darker.
Yes.
You know, if a person has more of these lines around the eyes, maybe that's what you really want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Extraordinary. Great fun. Wow.
So there you go. I said, well, if it works for him, it's going to work for me.
Yeah. Now we can find Joe on YouTube. Can we?
We can, yes.
Okay.
He doesn't have a huge YouTube presence. However, I will put links to his... I'm not sure if his second book has been published yet.
Okay.
But he's already published one on figure painting.
I'm going to get it
today. And that'll also help you with smaller figures and, dealing with shadows and highlights with those types of things.
And I can get that on Amazon?
Yes. You can see we're starting to already add more shading to his eyes there.
Yeah, he's literally coming alive as you paint. Literally. It's wonderful. I've always been so impressed with what paint can do, when I was in the business, and my paint department, part of the construction department, were always... I would catch them doing like amazing things, like marble walls.
Oh yeah.
With their brushes and feathers.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's all Luan wood. It's just.
And it looks so good when it's done.
It does.
Oh my gosh.
It does. Super talented. Now, how long are you able to hang on to a brush before you say it's retiring?
That's a good question. So you can see it's already starting. See, and I wish the camera could capture a lot of it, because I know a lot of it gets washed out. But when you're looking at it in person, you can start to see the different variations.
No, you can, and they will be able to.
I mean, look at under the eyes here now.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's perfect.
Right. So that's what I would keep doing. I would keep working at that. And then maybe accentuate some of the other shading down here that we couldn't.
And what we'll do is we'll set up a close-up camera at the end here, just so that we can see some of the detail. Even though I know you could keep on going, but time is not on our side.
Yeah, it's Valentine's Day, and I promised my wife I'd be home for dinner.
Listen, you're kind enough to spend the time, give me the time that you have.
We celebrated Valentine's Day actually last week.
Okay, good. Yeah. Who needs eyeglasses? I'm now officially lost without them.
Yes.
And I can complain to you because you're a doctor. It's too expensive.
Don't make me laugh now.
I'm sorry.
All right. Okay, so we're applying now the sclera. Okay, and what I've used here is a light gray that you had on hand, along with a little bit of this pinkish.
Okay, now the sclera is the whites of our eye.
That's right.
I'm learning. Now we always start with the whites, because the one thing that I cannot understand, and maybe there's time for you to at least discuss it a little bit, is gaze. Where the pupil goes matters.
Yes.
Yeah, right there we're in camera.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at Ben Affleck's picture, I want you to pay attention to his corneas. Now, so just to give you some anatomy now, the cornea is the covering over the iris, right? So you have the cornea. It forms a chamber between the cornea and the iris. There's a little chamber there. That, but anyway, so we're going to call that his cornea and certainly the iris, right? So notice how much of that's seen as you look at that gaze, right?
The first thing you notice is that it's not a complete circle.
Exactly.
That the very top of it is almost gone.
Right.
It's like it's
like the
chopped
upper third
off.
Almost is covered or obscured by the upper lid.
By the eyelid.
And then the bottom, if this was an older person, their lower lids would tend to be a little more saggy, so that's where you start to see more of the bottom. But because he's still a little on the younger side, right? Yeah. The bottom is even covered.
And so, the percentage of that is, and that, because that's going to establish gaze,
right?
So, is there any trick or any rule of thumb, I should say?
He's got a very average, in terms of what you see in a person's eyes, that's typically what they look like. You'll see probably about 2 to 3% of that bottom being blocked off, while about the upper third or maybe a little less than that is at the top there. That's typically what you see with most people.
And then size of it.
Yeah, so what you do is you look at the nasal and the temporal side of the sclera. Okay. The temporal side will always have a little bit more visibility than the nasal side. And that's going to be based on how the eye opening or fissure is shaped in and of itself. But notice how the nasal part of his eye, you'll see a little less of this versus in comparison to this.
Yes.
So that means you're displacing this a little more nasally.
Okay.
You don't want to put that smack in the middle.
Got it.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's going to look what we call exotropic.
Yeah. Not good.
Not good. So what I always start off with is the iris now has a circle or ring around it. If you looked at those decals, you'll notice there's a circle and then there's a dark ring.
Yes.
Okay, that's called the limbus.
Okay.
Now, the limbus is really kind of an illusion. It's really a ring that's formed by the way light's entering that cornea and bending around.
Okay.
It creates this shadow and dark circle around that limbus, around that area there.
Okay.
And you'll notice if you blow his eye here, you see that dark ring around the edge?
Yes.
That's what I start with. I actually start with a very dark color, usually just a dark brown.
Okay.
And that's what I begin with. That's what I use to place and center those eyes first.
Got it.
Right? And then we'll move into just a very much, depending on the color of the eye, you're going to move in now to the iris color. And you start off with applying choose like a base color, if you will.
Okay.
And then you're going to lighten that up, if you can, apply little streaks within there. And that will help define the iris a little bit more and give you more of that natural sort of look, because the iris itself is not a uniform color.
So what you're actually saying to me is get yourself a pair of these.
That's right.
Because you're going to use them.
Yeah.
If you're going to do this properly.
That's right. That's
right.
So what I'm going to ask if you can find a dark brown for me.
A dark brown, yes.
A dark brown.
Okay. I love this color because it's also it's quite thin.
Yes.
So
the air colors can be used as a wash sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. Its opacity is good for this.
Okay, so I'm going to start about right here.
Okay. Well, the first thing I noticed, ladies and germs, is the man has very steady hands. You can forget that in this shop. Sorry, didn't. Now, I can see you're obviously focused on making sure that sort of that top half of the eye is
obscured.
Is obscured.
Exactly.
You don't see it.
One thing you might want to try just for fun is try some side gazes with your busts too.
Okay.
You know, it
looking
doesn't always have to be
looking up, looking away. Because this is going to now, correct me if I'm wrong, Oggie, this is going to dictate his gaze.
That's right. You know, you can start adding those in. There is one area at the very corner, though. Okay, we call that the canthus.
Okay.
It's going to be a test at the end.
There's going to be a test at the end, which, you know.
So that's kind of where it's kind of direction of your tear duct, right? It's very. There's always a little pink edge to the eye, right there in the corner.
Yes.
And we just want to try to kind of paint that in if we can.
Touch and leave.
And you don't want it too dark either.
The thing is, too, is this sculpt is that good that, like, even the shadows of his nostrils, under his nostrils, it's in darkness.
Yes, that's right. And some aren't like that, but
this one is.
This one is for sure.
Now, did you print this?
Yes.
You printed this.
Yeah, and I can share the link with you guys.
This is Game Body?
I don't remember offhand.
That's okay.
Actually.
Because the only reason why I say it is because for those of you who are interested, they've got a great sale on right now.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to do, long after you're gone, I promise you, is when you decide you're done, is I'm going to set up my little studio, lighting studio, and I'll do some beauty shots of this so that we can really admire your work.
Okay. Now, do you have? I need a black.
A black?
Yeah.
Yeah. He got the gaze perfectly. And it's interesting too because as it's continuing to dry, obviously it'll, it sets these set up in 10-15 minutes, but they cure I found they cure in at least 24 hours. And obviously we've hit this with a clear coat of matte just to.
So now we're not done quite yet. We have to put in what we call the corneal reflex.
Corneal reflex.
Yeah. So if you look at his picture again,
yes,
they used a flash.
Yes.
Or just the environment is around. You see that reflection off his cornea.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is coming back there almost.
Yeah. So there's always light bouncing off your cornea. It's called a corneal reflex. And so for that you can use white.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be.
And it's little specks.
Just a little speck.
Yeah,
exactly.
and it adds that naturalness to the eye.
It's actually going to affect also the gaze.
Oh,
because in fact, when you're looking for someone, you're looking at a patient who potentially has even a small eye turn. That's actually what you're looking at is a corneal reflex a lot of times.
Interesting.
To help you decide whether that eye looks like it's, in the proper position or not.
Right.
So generally with this, what I do is I usually put it down on the, let's see, so for the left eye, we're looking at the upper temporal side, like right about here. Like I would say, what's that, around the 1 o'clock hour or so?
Okay.
And it's usually very close to the pupil.
Okay.
So I'm going to put it right about here. And it has to go symmetrically on the other side. All right, it has to go so
interesting. So wherever it
it's
lives...
going to be on the nasal side of the other eye, right? See?
Oh my...
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's what really makes him look like,
Let me put him in.
Now, when you have bigger eyes, you can even paint in maybe reflection of the environment around you.
Yeah.
Really that good, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at this scale, right?
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that already, that is like, wow. Extraordinary.
Okay, let's just finish off the eyes by coloring his eyebrows.
Okay.
So what I need is not a model air color, but maybe like just a dark brown.
Okay, like in the...
maybe if you have it in Monument Hobbies
let me see
or...
I can't get over this. I just can't get over it.
Oh, yeah.
It's extraordinary.
Okay.
Now, would you typically do any very, very light washes over any of this, or no?
No, I've gone away from that.
What was your thinking on that?
I just getting more advice from Joe.
Yeah.
Really, what he does is he continues to, and you can go much farther than what we've done, because really, some people will go. I can't even tell you how many coats of paint they'll put on something like this. I think this will just kind of give you the basics on how to get started with it.
Yes,
and
very
then,
much so.
Just build from there.
Well, it's like anything else, the magic comes from the layers of paint that you use.
Yeah.
And the tonality, that's the magic. Whether it's faces, no matter what you're doing.
Right. Yeah, because even the modeling that we done, all that stuff can be done by just adding in layer after layer after layer.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. There you go. And let's see.
I'm going to add another layer.
Yeah. Now I do use washes on the hair, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best ways to get into all these little crevices and deep recesses that a lot of times come with these sculpts like that.
Yeah.
And it's so I would start off. So if we were going to do the hair at this point, I would first paint in a kind of a medium to darker brown.
Okay.
And then over that, I would do a black wash, a very dark wash.
Okay.
Let that dry, and then now start applying your highlights and lighter browns.
Okay.
And that could be done by dry brushing on that part of it.
Okay.
And getting lighter where the peaks are and darker where it's, so.
Wow.
And that's just the beginning, folks. But
Ben's never looked so good, and and I must say, if I had any critique for you, is you've made him too young. If I had any critique at all. Oh, he's fantastic. Yeah. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
the most important thing I wanted anybody to get out of this is, because I'm learning too, so we're all students, right, is that there are some very basic elements that you'll see in this video that you can use to really establish that baseline for how you learn. And again, Oggie's kindly left me some busts to play with before I touch a really nice sculpt. But I cannot thank you enough for your time.
Oh, you're welcome.
And your generosity and your kindness. It's been an absolute delight having you in the show.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
And I hope you come back.
Oh, absolutely.
And we'll, maybe in the future we'll see what other trouble we can get into together.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. All right. Well, that was an absolute blast, and I cannot thank Oggie enough for taking the time to do this for us. And what I really wanted to get out of this, and I hope you get out of this, is it's a starting point. This is not an ending point, it's a starting point. But I want you to take a look at the results of just a few hours of work. Now, here it is, and pay particular attention to the eyes, how he was able to bring those eyes alive. And they have been coated with a gloss coat just to give them a little more life. When you're done, that's what you really want to do after it's all sealed up. He didn't have enough time to really continue work on the eyebrows, and of course the hair isn't done, and his complexion layers. We could have gone on and on and on. But what we got out of this today is we got a starting point. Now I feel a lot more comfortable knowing that I have a way to actually start, because I would get lost. I would get lost on the anatomy of the face and where the shadows are and how do you start and all the highlights and how do you build color. And you saw he really dug in there and he was mixing these colors. And of course it depends on age, it depends on complexion, but this is a great place to start. So I can't thank him enough for giving us a tutorial and a place to finally be able to begin tackling faces, because you got to do it. You know, sooner or later you're going to want to give a little more life to your figures, and this is a great place to it. So thank you, Oggie. Check out his channel. He's the Interstellar Modeler. The link is in the description below. And I have a feeling that I will be definitely luring him back to the studio so that we can have some more fun in the future. But what an absolute blast. Hey, if you want to get a hold of me, I'm spruverse@gmail.com. I post most days on my Instagram account, that's @spruverse. Buy me a cup of coffee, that link is on my channel page. But most importantly, as always, please, I wish all of you be safe, be well, build something, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Be well.